They're talking about the DSLR. They're talking about the giants of the past. But today, we are not here to talk about the past. We are here to talk about a legend that simply refuses to retire. We are here to talk about a camera that, for years after its debut, still commands the respect and the price tag of a brand new flagship. This is the Nikon D850. And if you're a serious photographer in 2024, you need to understand why this metallic beast is more than just a camera. It's a statement. It's a workhorse. It's arguably the single greatest piece of photographic engineering Nikon has ever produced. Stick with us for the next 30 minutes, because by the end of this deep dive, you'll realize that the true successor to the Nikon D850 might just be another Nikon D850. Let's begin where all the magic happens, the sensor. When this camera was first announced, the entire industry gasped. 45.7 megapixels, a number so colossal, it immediately placed the D850 in a class of its own, a rare hybrid that could go head-to-head with medium-format systems, but operate at the speed of a professional sports camera. But the D850's sensor isn't just about quantity, it's about quality. It's about the dynamic range. Imagine this. You're shooting a portrait at sunset. The sky is an inferno of orange and purple, but your subject's face is deep in shadow. A lesser camera forces you to choose, expose for the dramatic sky or expose for the subject. The other will be lost. The D850 doesn't ask you to choose. It captures 14.8 stops of dynamic range. That means when you open that raw file on your computer, you can pull the subject out of the abyss of shadow while simultaneously taming the savage highlights of the sun-drenched sky. It's like having an invisible fill light built right into the sensor. This isn't post-processing wizardry. This is the pure capture power of the D850. And then there's the clarity. With no optical low-pass filter, every pixel is razor-sharp. Every eyelash, every texture, every grain of sand is rendered with a surgical precision that is simply addictive. If your goal is to print gigantic gallery-quality images that stop people in their tracks, the D850 doesn't just meet that goal. It exceeds it. It delivers an image quality that photographers once only dreamed of achieving outside a medium-format studio. Now, here is the paradox that makes this camera truly legendary. High-resolution sensors usually mean slow cameras. They're the domain of patient landscape shooters and meticulous studio artists. But the D850 carries a secret weapon, one stolen directly from its sports shooter sibling, the D5. We're talking about speed and autofocus. Because of its advanced X5 processor and its grip-assisted battery, the D850 can fire off a stunning 9 frames per second. Think about that for a moment. 9 frames per second while resolving 45.7 million pixels in every single shot. This is not a studio camera dabbling in action. This is a fully capable sports and wildlife machine that just happens to produce world-class resolution. And it is all held together by the 153-point autofocus system. 153 points. Imagine trying to track a bird flying erratically across a busy forest canopy. The D850 locks on with a terrifying, almost psychic precision. It doesn't hunt, it knows. It is fast, tenacious, and has an enormous coverage area, ensuring that whether you're shooting a wedding, a fast-moving athlete, or a fleeting moment of wildlife, the camera is never the bottleneck to your creative vision. This combination, extreme resolution and professional speed, is what forced an entire generation of photographers to retire their other cameras. Why carry a D5 for speed and a D810 for resolution when the D850 does both, and arguably does both better? It truly lives a double life, seamlessly transitioning from capturing the minute details of a still life to freezing the peak of a dynamic moment. Now let's talk about the parts of a camera you can't quantify on a spec sheet. Let's talk about the experience. Pick up a D850. Feel the magnesium alloy body. It's not just robust, it feels purposeful. It feels like a piece of industrial art designed to survive a war zone. The grip is deep, molded perfectly to the human hand, providing a confidence that mirrorless cameras often struggle to replicate. And then there is the sound of the shutter. It's a satisfying, mechanical thwack, a sound that signifies commitment, a sound the T tells you a perfect photograph has just been captured. In the age of silent electronic shutters, the D850's mechanical heart provides a tactile connection to the art of photography. And for the professional who cannot afford downtime, let's talk about endurance. The battery life is phenomenal. While mirrorless shooters frantically swap out their tiny cells, the D850's battery, the legendary Yin EL15A, can deliver thousands of shots on a single charge. This is the peace of mind that allows you to climb a mountain, shoot all day, and still have power left to review your incredible haul. This camera was built for the working photographer in the USA, the one who battles the humidity of Florida, the dust of the Arizona desert, and the bitter cold of a New England winter. Its comprehensive weather sealing isn't a marketing bullet point. It's a necessity that Nikon executed flawlessly. The obvious question lingers. Why buy a D850 when cameras like the Nikon Z8 or Z9 exist? Why choose the legacy mount? The answer is threefold, and it is a lesson in value and availability. First, the glass. The Nikon F-mount lens ecosystem is arguably the richest, most refined collection of optics in the history of photography. You have decades of legendary lenses, from manual focus classics to modern, surgically sharp G-type lenses, all available, often at steep discounts on the used market. When you buy a D850, you're not just buying a camera. You're buying into an unmatched, proven library of glass. Second, the optical viewfinder. Looking through the D850's magnificent viewfinder is like looking at the world, uninterrupted. No lag, no digital interference, no battery drain. It's a bright, real-time window into your scene. For portrait photographers who study micro-expressions, or landscape shooters who need to see pure light and color, the optical view is a feature, not a bug. It forces you to see the light, not just the digital interpretation of it. Third, the value proposition. In 2024, the D850 sits in a sweet spot. It offers resolution and performance that rivals cameras costing thousands more. Yet it is now available at a fraction of its original price. It is the ultimate camera for the photographer who prioritizes image quality and rugged reliability over electronic novelties. The mirrorless cameras are the future, yes, but the D850 is the masterclass you can attend today. So, who is the D850 for in this modern world? It's for the landscape photographer who demands every pixel of that dynamic range to print their masterpiece. It's for the studio and commercial photographer who needs the proven reliability and the immense file size for client work. It's for the wildlife shooter who needs 9 frames per second and the confidence of the F-mount telephoto lens selection. And above all, it's for the photographic purist, the person who loves the tactile nature of a perfectly weighted machine, the person who understands that the tool should never overshadow the art. The Nikon D850 is a titan. It is a masterpiece forged at the peak of DSLR technology. It is powerful enough to handle any professional assignment and refined enough to bring joy to the most discerning hobbyist. If you're told that the DSLR is dead, look no further than this camera. The D850 isn't just surviving the revolution. It's defining the very peak of what the classic camera architecture could achieve. Is it worth buying in 2024? The answer is a resounding yes. It doesn't just hold its own. It forces the competition to catch up. So, tell us in the comments below. Do you still shoot with the D850? What is your favorite lens for this legend? The D850 eliminates this pain. It features focus shift shooting mode. You simply tell the camera your near point and your far point, and the camera does the rest. It precisely executes up to 300 sequential shots, moving the focus plane infinitesimally each time. It takes the guesswork, the human error, and the strain out of the process, leaving you with a perfectly captured set of images ready to be stacked into a single, utterly sharp photograph where everything, from the front edge to the back, is in clinical focus. This is a feature usually reserved for highly specialized, dedicated systems. Yet here it is, baked into a flagship DSLR. Speaking of specialized features, for those of you with a rich history in film photography, The D850 offers a remarkable tool, the negative digitizer mode. Forget expensive drum scanners and tedious light tables. Pair the D850 with a proper macro lens and the ES2 film digitizing adapter, and suddenly your decades-old film archive, your slides, your color negatives, can be digitally resurrected with incredible speed and quality. The D850 inverts the colors directly in camera and produces high-resolution JPGs, bringing the look and feel of those classic emulsions into your modern digital workflow. This is Nikon paying homage to its past while simultaneously serving the modern pro. Now, let's revisit the low light performance, because while dynamic range handles the shadows, ISO handles the darkness. The D850 is a high-resolution monster, and typically, more megapixels means more noise in low light. Yet, the D850 manages to defy physics. By utilizing a backside illuminated sensor design, it gathers light more efficiently. This means that even pushing the ISO into the high thousands, the resulting grain is surprisingly organic and manageable. It's the difference between unusable digital mush and film-like grain that is completely acceptable for commercial use. This camera handles a dimly lit wedding reception as effortlessly as it handles a sun-drenched landscape. We also have to dedicate a moment to the operational luxuries. The design team at Nikon knew exactly what working photographers needed. Take, for example, the backlit buttons. Shooting an event in a dark venue, or perhaps a Milky Way time-lapse in the remote desert, fumbling for controls in the dark is frustrating. The D850's illuminated buttons glow with a soft amber light, allowing instant, confident control in absolute darkness. It's a small detail, but it speaks volumes about the camera's professional pedigree. And of course, the twin slots, one for XQD or CF Express and one for SD. This redundancy is the non-negotiable safety net of the professional. You need the speed of the XQD for those 9 frames per second bursts, but you need the redundancy of the SD card backing up every single capture. When a client's precious memory is at stake, the D850's dual card security is priceless. Ultimately, the D850 represents something more profound than mere technology. It represents a long-term investment. Unlike so much digital gear that feels disposable, this camera was built to last a decade, easily surviving several 100,000 shutter actuations. Its depreciation curve is shallow because its utility remains so high. When you invest in a D850 today, you are not chasing the latest trends. You are purchasing proven, reliable, world-class image quality that will generate income and create stunning art for years to come. This is a legend that continues to justify its reputation, not just on paper, but in the hands of the professional photographer, day in and day out. That is the enduring power of the Nikon D850. We are now diving into the finer details that separate this camera from its contemporaries. If you want to see the D850's ability to resurrect film or focus stack a tiny product, let us know in the comments. Thank you for staying with us for this extended look at a true icon.